Well, well, well. In case you missed it, a few days ago, I went on the Aaron Milan show and I revealed, for the first time, revealed publicly, that it was Joe Kent, the former head of the Counterterrorism Center at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, who, again, he just resigned last week. And I revealed that he was the one who had leaked text messages, screenshots of text messages to Candace Owens from a chat group that I was in with Charlie Kirk. So here's me on the Aaron Milan show. This is just an edited short that I put up on X, but it gives you the basics of what I said, just in case you haven't been following.
Let's talk about Joe Kent. Big headlines regarding his resignation.
This has never been made public before, Aaron. If anyone's been following the plot about Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and the famous screenshot that Candace made so much of, you know that I was in that chat group. Andrew Kulvet was Charlie's number 2 guy who now hosts the show. Andrew was in the chat group as well. He was one of the 9 people in the group. He said that on the show that he gave those screenshots to someone in the government. Next thing we know, Candace Owens is talking about it. Candace kept saying that she has information from the top levels, that there's questions to be asked.
No, I'm just saying there's unanswered questions.
The messages had been given by Andrew to Joe Kent, and that Joe Kent had been the one to pass them on to Candace. This is someone who's the head of the counterterrorism. So when he said to Tucker, well, you know, we all know about the text messages which were made public.
The pressure because of the text messages that have been made public.
You made them public.
Let's talk about Joe Kent. Big headlines.
Okay. Before we go on, please make sure, if you're enjoying this channel, if you're watching this channel, you want to follow all my content, please make sure to also follow everything that we're putting up at Israel 365 News. This is really where I've been posting videos for a few years now. We post videos almost every day. A lot of them are my geopolitical analysis and drilling down into what is actually going on in Israel. We also have interviews. Over the last couple of days, we just posted an interview with Dr. David Wormser about what is going on in Iran, and an interview that I did at America Fest recently with Nick Freitas. Got great stuff up there, and I'll point you specifically in the playlist section on that channel, where there is a playlist. It's 6 videos called Israel, the Rise of a Regional Superpower. And this is a really important playlist if you want to really understand my overall thinking about where we are in the Middle East right now. And if you enjoy my content, this is an absolute must watch. Go over to Israel 365 News, go to the playlists and watch it. It's a 6-part series, 6 short videos. Each video is about 12 to 15 minutes long. And it'll really give you an overall picture of what has happened in the Middle East since October 7th. Okay, so let's get over to Candace. So I'm going to play this video of Candace on her show the other day talking about my revelations that Joe Kent leaked the text messages. Now, right after I appeared on the Aaron Milan show, the very next day, Andrew Kulvet, who was Charlie's number 2, as you just saw, I mentioned him there. Andrew Kulvet, who hosts the Charlie Kirk show, who was the one who gave the text messages to Joe Kent on the Charlie Kirk show, talked about this. And Candace is going to play the clip of that. And he confirmed that he gave the text messages to Joe Kent. And he went a little bit further, and Candace then responded to this whole thing and talked about it. Now, in what Candace says in the clip that I'm going to share with you, I want to focus on 3 things. I'm going to stop the video 3 times. There's one where the first time I'm going to stop it, she engages in what we call a misdirection play. It's a little devious move where she sets up a straw man argument by focusing on something that is not really central to the topic, and then using that to attack the entire case of what she calls the other side. Okay, so there's a misdirection play. There's then an outright lie, which I'm going to expose. And then at the end of the video, she just says something that's patently silly, and I'm going to talk about that. So those are the 3 spots where I'm going to stop the video. So stay with me to the end. This is a good one. Here is Candace Owens.
Pesach, who works with Turning Point USA in a lot of different ways, but also is military and has served the country, and therefore, like most military men, respect Joe Kent's accomplishment. He came under fire for merely listing absent any commentary, Joe Kent's qualifications and his background, having served this country. This is what Jack Posobiec wrote, and I'm going to show you how Laura Loomer responded. He wrote, Joe Kent has 6 Bronze Star medals with 5 oak leaf clusters across 11 combat deployments as a Green Beret in some of the biggest battles of the GWOT. And they were infuriated. You should see the comments under this. They couldn't stand this. You cannot say anything good about Joe Kent. Laura jumps in and says, why are you defending a known leaker who is undermining President Trump? There is now speculation that Joe Kent may have been leaking information to Candace Owens for the purpose of attacking Mrs. Erica Kirk. What are you doing? Okay, I can tell you right now that is completely untrue. Joe Kent did not leak me anything for the purpose of attacking Erica Kirk. But here is what's even.
Joe Kent did not leak me anything for the purpose of attacking Erica Kirk. Right here, I believe that, first of all, Candace Owens just admitted that Joe Kent leaked her the text messages. What do you mean? She just said, this is completely untrue. Joe Kent did not leak me anything for the purpose of attacking Erica Kirk. You see, it makes no sense that the reason for the leak was to attack Erica Kirk, especially at the time that Joe Kent sent these text messages to Candace. Erica Kirk has nothing at all to do with this. So what did Candace do? She knew that she had to respond to what was being said, to what I said and what Andrew Kulvet said, and it was going viral that Joe Kent was the one who sent her the text messages. She had to somehow defend him, but she didn't want to lie and say Joe Kent did not give me the text messages. She could have said that. In fact, Joe Kent himself said that. Let's take a look. Here is Joe Kent saying exactly, actually denying that he sent the text messages. Here's the clip. Hold on a sec. On the Mark Levin show just the other day.
There's been a big controversy now. Andrew Kulvet now, media has covered it. Other people have covered it. He put out a video. He gave you text messages confidentially. Hold on, man. Let me just get the question out. You can dispute it.
Text messages to anybody.
But I have to explain it to the public. If you wait. Hold on. So they got, what is it? Why don't you want to answer this? You won't even let me set up the question. He said that he gave you text messages from Charlie Kirk, all this discussion about the Israelis and donors and so forth, that you called him and you said, make it public. He said, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. And then the next thing he knows, Candace Owens has it and she makes it public and she's off to the races, just like you and Tucker and the rest. Did that happen or not? Did you give it to Candace Owens? Yes or no?
I did not give anything to Candace Owens, no.
Well, this is good to know. So you've never leaked. You didn't give anything to Candace Owens. I have a much higher regard for you now.
He has a much higher regard for him now. Okay. So let's talk about that. So here's Joe Kent saying categorically that he did not give the text messages to Candace Owens. Now, Candace Owens, in what we just watched, in that first clip, Candace Owens said that Joe Kent did not give her any text messages for the purpose of harming Erica Kirk. Okay, that's the misdirection play, because her audience hears her denying that Joe Kent gave her the text messages. Joe Kent never gave me any text messages. But the end of the sentence, for the purpose of harming Erica Kirk, which is what gave Candace the cover to be able to say that this is a false statement. Okay? She can say, he never gave it to me for that purpose. If Candace wanted to deny that Joe Kent gave her the text messages, she would have been much clearer. She also went around the internet yesterday after Andrew Kulvet was talking about this, and it was all over the internet. She went and found this Laura Loomer tweet where Laura suggested that the reason that Joe Kent gave her the text messages was to harm Erica Kirk. That's what Laura said. So she uses Laura's conjecture that that was the purpose to set up why it makes no sense. And that's why this misdirection play became a straw man argument, because what she's now going to do in the video in the next minute or so, what you're about to see, I'm going to hit play. We're just going to continue the Candace Owens video right after she says that Joe Kent did not give the text messages to her for the purpose of harming Erica Kirk, because she doesn't want to give an outright denial. She's not going to lie. And he did give her the text messages. She then goes ahead and attacks the logic of why this would harm Erica Kirk, meaning she takes Laura's comment, and Laura doesn't know. Laura's not involved in this whole thing. I don't even know Laura. I met Laura Loomer once, very briefly. She then so what she does is she takes Laura's comment and then turns it into the whole logic behind the attack and says it makes no sense. And she paints it as the position of them, I guess the Jews or the pro-Israel people or the other side or whoever the conspiracy theory is. And she takes Laura's comment and makes it into the argument the other side is making, and points out how this Erica Kirk connection makes no sense, which it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. That's why it's a straw man, because her listeners by the end of this segment are like, yeah, the other side doesn't make any sense, right? Watch. That's what she does here. It's a great misdirection play.
Okay. They don't realize that they're implying that Erica Kirk is guilty of something, right? Let's actually imagine what they're saying is true. Like Joe Kent, let's say Joe Kent is the one that leaked me crucial information regarding Charlie Kirk. Okay.
Yeah, let's say.
And the investigation. Well, how could that hurt Erica Kirk? That should hurt the feds if they're lying. It could only hurt someone who is lying to the public about what actually occurred on that day. The implication is that him leaking something harmed Erica Kirk. They're not saying he is a liar. They are saying he is a leaker. I find that to be interesting, and they never think through their attacks. So we got to figure out what it is they're talking about. Why are they so upset about what Joe Kent said? How could this harm Erica? Well, we finally were able to determine what it is that they're talking about.
You see, what did they say? Why did they say it'll harm Erica? No one ever said it would harm Erica except Laura Loomer putting that line in her tweet saying that that's why Joe Kent did it. No one ever said this. Okay, you see how this is why what's called a straw man argument. You probably heard the expression before. In case you don't know what it means, what it means is that you take something, you hold up a point that the people you're attacking didn't actually say. You claim it's what they said, and then you attack it. So it seems like you're attacking them. No one ever said, I never said, Andrew never said, no one ever said that Joe Kent leaked the text messages or likely leaked the text messages, as Andrew put it, that leaked them to Candace in order to harm Erica Kirk. Laura Loomer said that. And now Candace is saying that's their argument. So all the people that she's attacking here are all lumped together as part of one team who made this assertion that Laura Loomer made, and then she attacks it, and therefore she's attacking everyone on the other side. Okay, that's why it's a straw man argument, a misdirection play used as a straw man argument.
Because Andrew Kulvet addressed the claims directly today on Charlie Kirk's radio show. Take a listen.
The central claim, though, that I want to get to was Joe Kent leaking certain information. And over the weekend, a clip came up, and it's gone a little bit viral. I want to address it. Let's go ahead and play it. Cut 16.
The way that those screenshots got to Candace is via Joe Kent. Andrew Kulvet. Andrew was in the chat group as well. He was one of the 9 people in the group. And he admitted at first, be perfectly honest, at first he was denying it. We didn't know how Candace got them. But then he admitted on the air, on his show, that he had given these text messages, and he gave them to... He said that on the show that he gave them to someone in the government. He told us that he gave them to someone in the government. Joe Kent was someone that we knew that there was a relationship there between Charlie and Andrew and Joe. We knew that when Charlie would visit Washington, D.C., he would talk to Joe. We kind of verified that the messages had been given by Andrew to Joe Kent, and that Joe Kent had been the one to pass them on to Candace.
All right, so Verified's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I do want to confirm what I can confirm, and that is that, yes, in the immediate aftermath, I did provide the group chat to Joe Kent. We don't throw around accusations recklessly here. We don't. There's a lot of people that do that online. We don't do that. We think that's keeping in the spirit of Charlie's spirit. And the way we choose to do things is we try and be responsible. So yes, in a spirit of looking at every lead, turning over every stone, we wanted everybody that needed to know anything that we knew. Not just, I mean, and by the way, we've been accused of not being interested in the truth.
And just to remind people what this is referring to, this is after Charlie's murder, there were text messages that from a private group chat that were made public and were used to, frankly, kick off the big conspiracy theory that we've run into over and over again, which is that Israel or the Jews had Charlie murdered.
Yes. So,
which we do not believe.
But we have been accused of trying to, or we're not interested in the truth. The actual fact of the matter is that behind the scenes, we have given everything we know to give, every single piece of information. This was one of them. I was told I could trust Joe Kent. I provided the screen grabs to Joe Kent, and I don't know what happened to them at that point. Okay, I just want to make that very clear. Eventually, Joe did message me and suggest that I make those screen grabs public. I declined because those were shared privately. I didn't want to be reckless with them in the public. There could be innocent people on that group chat that would then be harmed. So I declined. But then, fast forward another week or two, and they were made public. So that's what I know, is that Joe suggested.
Let me just interject a correction for myself. In my recent X post about this whole situation, I said that that after Joe Kent was pressuring Andrew to make them public, the next day they were sent to Candace. I have no basis for knowing that. I misspoke there. He says it was a week or two later, whatever it was shortly thereafter.
Suggested that they be made public. I declined. Then they were made public. Can I 100% categorically say that he leaked them? No, but those are the facts. Maybe somebody on his team, maybe they got passed around, maybe somebody else leaked them, but those are the facts of the matter, and that's what I know.
Yeah, the part that Andrew's just forgetting to add there is that he himself told me about the text chain. Andrew was telling multiple people about the text chain. And I'm so glad that he is telling the truth, that this was going around. And this is their bone to pick with Joe Kent. This is what put a bee in their bonnet. This is what has upset Turning Point USA. As a refresher, Turning Point chose to stay entirely mum on the topic of Charlie's support for Israel and instead allowed a force of Zionists who were harassing him in his last days, Zionists like Josh Hammer, to lie about what Charlie was going through, right? So I came out and told the truth. Megyn Kelly came out and told the truth. Tucker Mountain told the truth. He was having changing opinions on Israel. Now we're way far down and we know how true that is. Brett Weinstein has released his messages about Iran. You hear Joe Kent telling you the last time he saw him in the White House, he said that everybody knew this. And Turning Point did not confirm it and allowed Zionists to lie about that. Then I released the concrete proof in the form of the text chain, which then forced them to confess that there was a communication that took place less than 24 hours before Charlie was shot and killed.
This is an outright lie. Let me review what she just said. She just said that she released the text exchange, which forced us, I guess that's who she's talking about, to reveal that there was a communication less than 24 hours before Charlie was killed. And what she's referring to is a Zoom call that we had the night before Charlie was killed. A little more on that in a couple minutes, but we had a Zoom call with Charlie the night before. And this is critical to Candace's whole conspiracy theory, that the night before Charlie was killed, he had a Zoom call with Josh Hammer and me and a few other people, a couple of Charlie's producers, to talk about Israel issues. And this is all key to her conspiracy theory. And right there, she just said that we made that public because or after she revealed the text exchange, kind of like that we were playing defense or covering something up. What's the problem? Candace released those text messages on October 6th. Okay, on October 6th. And the Zoom call was made public. The Zoom call was made public on, here it is, The Zoom call was made public on September 13th. Charlie Kirk, this is New York Post, pretty big news outlet, right? Charlie Kirk and Rabbi Pal talked hours before his death, right? And Josh Hammer also talked about it at the time. We went public with it. Here, this is an article. There's a picture of me and Charlie, and Jack Posobiec's in the picture. And this is all about the Zoom call we had the night before, okay? This is about 3.5 weeks before Candace Owens ever shared those text messages publicly, okay? Now, why is this important? This is important because exactly for the same reason that Candace said that it was in response, because Candace wants to frame this as we released that under pressure and that leads to some sort of cover up. Now, what does that mean? What kind of pressure would lead us to release this? People who follow the story know about this Zoom call. How do they know about this Zoom call? How does anyone in the world know about this Zoom call? The only public discussion of this Zoom call that there has ever been by anyone who is involved in it, or anyone who knows, even people in TPUSA have never mentioned it because anyone from that organization who was involved in that Zoom call has never said anything about it. The only way anyone knows that it happened is from this New York Post story and subsequent discussion of it by Josh Hammer. We're the only two people who were on the call who have ever talked about it publicly. Okay? It's the only way anyone knows. If we wanted to cover up, if there was a Zoom call if in that Zoom call the night before things went really badly, and that's what led to to Charlie Kirk's assassination, the dumbest thing in the world for us to do would be to make that public. Why would we ever go public with the fact that we had that conversation if it somehow implicates us? It's absurd. And again, she's lying here because the Zoom call was public weeks before. And it was talked about already online weeks before she ever released those text messages. Okay, so that's the lie that she tells here. And let me remove this and we'll go back to what she has to say. And yeah, here we go.
It was a communication that took place shortly before Charlie began texting his security and Andrew Kulvet, which he also told me about, that he thought they were going to kill him. Okay, something that Erica initially denied to the public. So what we have here is that Turning Point is angry because this made both them and the new CEO and chairman, who also happens to be Charlie Kirk's wife, look bad, right? Liars hate when they get caught, but narcissistic liars, rather than repenting when they get caught, get angry and they seek revenge on the people who expose their lies. They never feel any shame, okay? They don't possess any shame. The rabbi is not ashamed that he lied and said, Charlie never blinked on Israel. He's not ashamed that he lied. He's angry he got caught. Josh Hammer was angry he got caught.
Okay. This is also a lie. This is a lie about me where she just said that the rabbi lied when he said that Charlie never wavered on Israel. Now that's really curious because on Candace Owens' own show months ago, she played a clip of me. She played a clip of me, and I want to play you that clip. So she obviously knows about this because this is from her show, and it's during the height of that whole controversy back then. This is from 5 months ago, and take a look.
Now, this is probably also a great time, referring to that little conference call they had, whatever was a Zoom call, to tell you that Rabbi Wolicki, was also on the now infamous text chain. So this means that both of those individuals knew exactly where Charlie was at on the topic of Israel and how he felt leading up to that moment of his death. And again, like I said, 2 weeks before that in the Hamptons, they knew where he was at. Tucker Carlson told you the truth on his stance on Bibi Netanyahu. Nobody wants to address or answer the question of whether or not when Bibi Netanyahu invited him to Israel, what the context was of that. Do you think that guy who's fighting a 140,000 front war because he keeps picking fights and pretending he's a victim really just has time to pick up the phone and shoot the breeze with Charlie Kirk, whose number, according to the released letter, he didn't even have in May? So what's he calling him about? They obviously weren't close if he didn't have his number, okay? So what's he calling Charlie about? Why is he inviting Charlie to Israel 2 weeks before he dies, right? Nobody will address that Charlie said no. He did. He said no. He didn't flinch. He wasn't even flinching. He was just busy and couldn't make it out to Israel or something. Now, I will say that regarding Rabbi Wolicki, I think he has more of a conscience and soul than Josh Hammer. I haven't seen him promoting his book. He doesn't lie as audaciously and as repeatedly and tweets nearly as neurotically as Josh Hammer does. But I want you to listen to what he had to say when asked whether or not Charlie was turning on Israel. Give us our hindsight 2020, Rabbi Wolicki.
The wild conspiracy theories online on social media claiming that Israel and the Mossad are behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk because he was turning on Israel. Now, you spoke to him just hours before his death. Did you feel that that was the case, that he was in fact turning on Israel?
Look, Lidar, I was in touch with Charlie on an almost daily basis for months, and he certainly had some disagreements with Israeli policy, and he criticized Israel where he felt appropriate. He sometimes believed things, like a lot of people do, that are out there in the media, and that was really the substance of our relationship, was checking on things and finding out the truth. But that doesn't mean that he was immune to the negative sentiments that were out there. And there were a lot of people around him in the America First movement who were actively working on him to try to get him to turn on Israel. But the real answer to your question is the meeting that I had with him. And the entire purpose of the meeting, called by Charlie called this meeting, and it was on our schedule for weeks, was that he was going out on a campus tour. Utah was the first stop on his new campus tour. And what a lot of people in Israel do not realize, or in the pro-Israel community do not realize, is that between 40 and 50% of all of the questions and challenges that he would get on these campus tours were usually about Israel. Because the campuses, of course, have a lot of anti-Israel sentiment, and Charlie was known as a supporter of Israel. So he ended up being in a position where he was defending Israel all the time. And it drove him crazy because he wanted to talk about America, but he was defending Israel all the time. So in preparation for this new campus tour, he called a meeting of a few people that he trusted to talk about Israel issues and to anticipate the questions that he would be getting, the challenges that he would be getting on this campus tour, and to make sure that he had the truth and that he could formulate answers that he was comfortable with. If Charlie had turned on Israel, why would he even bother with a meeting like that? Why would he call a meeting with a few pro-Israel friends of his to talk through Israel issues, to make sure that his facts were straight and his talking points were straight so that he could defend Israel better? If he was turning on Israel, he would have had Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson in the meeting planning to throw Israel under the bus. The entire premise of the meeting refutes that theory.
All right. So think about that clip for a second. Does it look like, did I say, let's be honest, did I say that Charlie never wavered on Israel? I think I actually said just the opposite. I think in that clip that Candace Owens played on her show. That's from the Candace Owens show. Okay, I was being interviewed on ILTV, an Israeli outlet. And that's why I focused on what Israelis or the pro-Israel community knows. But I explicitly said in that interview, and in every interview I've given, and every time I've talked about this issue ever since, when people ask me about Charlie's views on Israel, I've never said Charlie never wavered on Israel. On the contrary, Charlie did waver on Israel. We all know that he wavered on Israel. Charlie for years was staunchly pro-Israel. And in the final months of his life, especially surrounding the Iran war, he was increasingly uncomfortable. Charlie bought into the idea that the Israeli government has undue influence in the U.S. government. He felt that way. But I'll also add that it was a very recent development. It was only the final months of his life. And it was always exacerbated, or the situation, he always turned more and more against Israel after every visit he made to Washington, D.C. He was talking to people there. In retrospect, I wonder how much of that was coming out of Tulsi Gabbard's office and influencing Charlie that way. That's just pure speculation. But let's stick to the facts. Candace Owens just said a couple days ago, what I just played to you, that I lied when I said that Charlie never wavered on Israel. And she played on her show a clip where I say explicitly that Charlie had questions and disagreements and wasn't always comfortable, and he believed a lot of the things that he heard online that were negative about Israel. Did I not say exactly that? Anyway, let's move on.
Legal options. I should be allowed to lie to the public and make it look like Candace is crazy, right? They view themselves as the victims when they get caught being dishonest. Now, you should remember liars, they are nocturnal creatures. They hate the light. Me, I love it. Daylight is the best disinfectant. And I have some more interesting information. Yeah. Your punishment is more truth, Mr. Blake Neff and Andrew Kulvet. Foremost, I'll just state this, and this could be nothing, but I do want to say this. On September 5th, while Charlie was away in Asia, that Rabbi Wolicki and Rabbi Pesach Wolicki, who was the one who shouted me out, he had a call with Justin Strife and Andrew Kulvet. Now, I find that to be interesting because Rabbi Wolicki does not have any role within Turning Point USA. He claims to be one of Charlie's personal advisors. I don't know why he would have a phone call with Andrew and Justin Strife. Why do two Catholics need to speak to a rabbi while Charlie's away in Asia? Now, there could be a reasonable explanation. I would just like to hear it. It's another interesting data point for me.
Okay, this is where things just get absolutely silly. Okay, yes, on September 5th, Andrew Kulvet and Justin Strife and I had a Zoom call. There was a fourth person on the call. I'll say who it is. He certainly won't care that I'm saying who it is. The other person on the call was Luke Moon, who leads a Christian Zionist organization called Generation Zion. The four of us had a call. Now, think of what Candace just said here. Why would Justin and Andrew be talking to me if I have no official role in Turning Point USA? Why would two people very high up in the leadership of Turning Point USA ever have a conversation on Zoom with someone outside their organization? Why would they ever meet with someone who has no role in Turning Point USA? People have work meetings with organizations that they collaborate with people that they work with. The question is absurd. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I never claimed to be an advisor to Charlie. I was a friend of Charlie's. My role in that friendship was, yes, advising him on Israel. And then where it gets downright silly is why would two Catholics be talking to a rabbi? Now, this has come up before. A number of months ago, another time that Candace was talking, or maybe a month and a half ago, Candace was talking about me again. And she's like, why is Charlie talking to this rabbi? What does he need this rabbi in Israel for? Now, I don't know if she's playing dumb or if she just didn't do any research on me, because it's pretty easy to figure out who I am. Let me explain. I am an ordained rabbi. Yes, earlier in my professional career, I did actually do rabbinic work. I led a synagogue for a couple of years, and I had a career in Jewish education that ended over a decade ago. Let's do it this way. And Candace should know all this, because if you Google me for 2 seconds, you'll know exactly this. This is the Jerusalem Post. This is my author page on the Jerusalem Post, okay? I write columns for the Jerusalem Post a couple times a month. They are all about politics, usually about geopolitics, okay, about the Middle East. I'm also a regular guest on numerous shows. I'm a regular recurring guest, a frequent guest on Steve Bannon's War Room. I appear on TBN, the large Christian cable network, on CBN, another large Christian cable network. I've appeared on Fox. I appeared on the Charlie Kirk Show a few times. All of those appearances, all of my public appearances, all of the articles that I write, both for the Jerusalem Post and for other outlets, I've appeared in Newsweek. All of those articles are about geopolitics. I'm a political commentator. That is what I do. Okay, that is why Charlie had a relationship to me. The fact that I'm an ordained rabbi is nice, and of course, my faith is very much part of my politics, and that's part of what Charlie liked about the relationship and why he engaged me specifically on the issues of Israel, because he always took a faith perspective to his politics, and so do I. And also because of I knew Charlie for years, and because of my relationship with Steve Bannon, who Charlie was very close to. I was in that circle. I've been in that circle for years. That picture in the New York Post piece of me and Charlie and Jack Pesach was taken in 2023. Okay? Charlie knew me. And Candace could do a little bit of searching or a little bit of asking around, and she'd understand that I am a political commentator. That's it. Why did Justin and Andrew have to be having a meeting with this rabbi in Israel? Now, Candace wants to know what that call was about. Here's what it was about. That picture in the New York Post of me and Charlie and Jack Posobiec was taken at a Shabbat dinner at AmFest in 2023. I also hosted a Shabbat dinner for Jewish students and some Christian students who joined us. That's where Generation Zion, Luke Moon, comes into the picture. We have we do a lot of collaboration with this Christian Zionist student organization, Generation Zion. And when I say we, I mean Israel 365. And Israel 365 has been a presence at America Fest for a number of years. We have a booth there. This year we had a media booth. And we run Shabbat dinners for the Jewish participants at America Fest and for whatever Christians want to join us as well. And we've done this 3 years in a row. And the reason that we had a Zoom call, this secret Zoom call with Justin and Andrew and Rabbi Wolicki 5 days before Charlie was killed. No, the Zoom call was about America Fest. We were planning a few months ahead because America Fest was coming up. And once again, Israel 365 and Generation Zion were planning to do a Shabbat dinner. But this year, because Charlie's book about Shabbat was going to be released around the time of America Fest, we were having conversations with them about how we should structure the Shabbat dinner, what it should look like, to what extent will we lead it, to what, and what will the cooperation between Turning Point USA and our team look like, for the Jewish students. That was what the call was about. It was about logistics and about planning, and that's what it was about. Planning for America Fest. Great. That's the big reveal, Candace. Now you know what it is. And by the way, the Shabbat dinner, Candace could have known all of this so easily. The Shabbat dinner that we did at America Fest this year was also covered in the media. Right? Here's the story. Let me put this up here. Here's the story in Fox News. Fox News did an article. David Marcus, the columnist at Fox News, did an article about this, about Jews at Turning Point, and the article leads with the energy in the room. Friday night, Phoenix Shabbat dinner, talks about me, talks about everything that we did there. Okay, now in the end, there wasn't a big Turning Point Shabbat dinner hosted by Turning Point surrounding the book because Charlie was killed and there was a lot of other things going on. And in the end, Andrew and Justin, they just basically said to us, you go do your thing. We're in full support of what you're doing, but we don't have the bandwidth to be participating in a Shabbat dinner right now. So we hosted a Shabbat dinner at America Fest. There was a bunch of speakers, a few hundred people were there. That is what that call was about. Okay, let's let Candace finish up.
Bigger, actually something that is explosive, it's massive, and it may even involve those pesky little Egyptian planes that were following Turning Point faith events for years. And this most definitely will require a response from Turning Point USA.
Well, there you have it. That's Candace's segment about the Egyptian planes or conspiracy theories. And I hope I've cleared some things up. But there you have it. So just to sum up, we had a misdirection play that was really to build a straw man argument where she gave a denial that wasn't a denial, saying that Joe Kent never leaked her anything for the purpose of harming Erica Kirk, which she then attacked the logic of that as a way of attacking the whole other side. That was the misdirection play and straw man. She then went ahead and outright lied, saying that the revelation about the Zoom call, the public making the Zoom call public, was in response to her releasing the text messages, when in fact that Zoom call was widely known in public almost a month before she ever released those text messages. So that was just an outright lie. She also lied when she said that I lied by saying that Charlie never wavered on Israel. And I've never said that Charlie never wavered on Israel. I've said just the opposite. And she played it on her own show. And then finally, at the end there, her silliness of wondering what the Zoom call was about between me and Andrew and Justin, which I've just told you. I hope this is all very helpful and that you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel. And please spread the word. And yeah, maybe we'll be talking about this some more. Who knows what's going to happen next in this crazy saga.